Hello everyone and welcome to another video. So I know the Nintendo Switch 2 trailer came out yesterday and I'm going to be a little bit late reacting to it. I did watch it yesterday and I've been thinking about the Switch 2, off and on for the past day. I've been discussing it a lot online. I figured I'd go ahead and watch it again, give my thoughts on what I think the Switch 2 is going to be and how I feel about, Nintendo and the console market moving forward. So let's go ahead and watch the trailer of the Switch 2. Now, I will say whoever did the editing for this video did a really good job. I like the sleek design of the Switch 2 itself when they show it off, but I really love the way the editing, cuts everything together. This is really exciting, having the USB-C port on the top as well. That way, the thing that was awkward about the Switch was when you were laying down and having the USB, C on the bottom, and having it, like, up against your chest when you're trying to play. Having it on the top as well is a very nice touch. Now, I don't know if that means you can dock it, either way, but that'd be really cool if you could. I don't know, like, what would be the practical use for you doing that, but if everything is kind of swappable, where, like, okay, so you're playing, like you would regularly with the Switch, but I wonder if you can just, like, take the Joy-Cons off, flip the console, I guess, upside down and then put the Joy-Cons back in. That way you can have the headphone jack on the top or the bottom, if that's possible. If so, like, a rotation of an Android smartphone screen, that would be really cool. But just having the option of a charge port on the top is really nice. So I like the stand as well compared to the flimsy stand of the original. The only thing that's kind of weird about it is it actually does have, like, this here that goes into the console. So I would have to look at the internals of the console and see if that makes it annoying to repair, I haven't gotten, like, deep into console repair myself, but I imagine that could be a nightmare for people who are repairing the Switch 2. The degrees of rotation there are really nice, though. Now, I'm hoping with the analog sticks that they'll have a fuller range of motion. Because the Joy-Con analog sticks on the original are god-awful. I think that's what that's showing off there, maybe. But, yeah, the original Joy-Con joysticks are some of the worst when it comes to, like, a dedicated controller. Now, here's something that's interesting as well, is the connection for the Joy-Cons, instead of it being a rail. So if you don't know what the Joy-Cons were like in the original Switch, basically you had a rail on the side that they would slide in, and then the connector pins were actually at the very bottom of the rail. So here, having them exposed is an interesting choice. I had an issue with my original Switch where the rails eventually got warped, and I would have trouble putting in the right and left Joy-Cons, and they would read as if they were disconnected. But having it like that is a little bit better because it seems like, the connection is going to be easier. That's going to be less likely to happen. However, I think having them exposed also lends itself to all sorts of problems because you got to think the Switch is also a portable console. You could get dirt and grime and stuff on here. Maybe the durability, maybe it snaps off or something. And, I could see that being a potential issue. Where instead of the Joy-Cons breaking, having the actual connection on the console breaking and having to replace that could be a big problem. Now, I hope they snap in with a very satisfying, feel as well. Kind of like the original Switch did when you put it down. I don't know. I hope that's a thing. And now they show off gameplay of a new Mario Kart. Originally, I didn't know if this was, Mario Kart 8 or not, because I don't really play Mario Kart. The last time I played Mario Kart 8 was back on the Wii U. But after looking at this gameplay and Mario Kart 8 side by side, obviously this is a new Mario Kart. They're going for a much more cartoony aesthetic, which is nice. Gameplay looks solid. That's a thing that I am not a big fan of. The controller grip on the original Switch is so awful. And it looks like they have it exactly the same on the Switch 2. I don't know why they did that. It should be much more comfortable ergonomic grips. The grips on the Joy-Con ones in the original Switch were so uncomfortable to hold. So I'm not really a fan of that. Of course, the console's coming out this year. And here's something I want to take note of, because I am a little bit worried. It says Nintendo Switch 2 plays both physical and digital Nintendo Switch games. Certain Nintendo Switch games may not be supported on or fully compatible with the Nintendo Switch 2. Details will be shared on the Nintendo website at a later date. I'm hoping every game will be able to be playable. Of course, with it being different hardware, that's just a disclaimer that they have to put out. But I'm really hoping everything is compatible. Now, here's something I was a little bit confused by. It says Nintendo Direct Nintendo Switch 2, April 2nd. And for a second there, I thought it meant the Nintendo Switch 2 was coming out on April 2nd, but I think it's the Nintendo Direct for the Nintendo Switch 2 is coming out April 2nd. That means the Nintendo Switch 2 is more than likely launching holiday, 2025 around probably October, November, December, which is fine. It gives me time to save up some money for it. I know the pre-orders for this thing are going to go insane. So hopefully I'll be able to pick up one at launch, but I doubt it. Let's see, Nintendo Switch 2 Experience, series of hands-on events held around the world. For more details, please check the official Nintendo website. But yeah, that's the Nintendo Switch 2 reveal. It's nothing too spectacular. Like, it looks like a Switch 1, just beefier and more ergonomic, which is nice. I like that everything looks a little bit bigger because I have bigger hands, so the original Joy-Cons were kind of difficult to play with after a while. Now, I think a lot of people are going to go into the Switch 2 expecting a very significant upgrade. And I just want to say that please temper your expectations for the Switch 2 if you're going into it thinking it's going to be like a PS4 Pro. I doubt it. It's probably going to be more like a base PS4. Now, that doesn't mean there's not going to be some games that take advantage of the hardware and are really optimized and look great, like Metroid Prime 4 looks really good so far. And I think that's going to showcase a lot of the capabilities of the console with developers who actually work within the hardware's limitations to make something that looks amazing. But like third-party games, I am not expecting a miracle. So the most that I can hope for with Switch 2 is 1080p 30 frames per second on every game. I doubt it'll even make that. It'll probably be 720p 30 on some games. But I don't know. The main thing with Nintendo this generation, even though they don't have the best hardware, the thing that makes Nintendo king for me this generation and last generation, was their first-party support on the Switch was phenomenal. And they also re-released a lot of games. You have like so many games on the eShop. Third-party support was there too, with a lot of remasters and ports of older titles. So the library on the Switch was what really made it a good console for me. So if they can carry forward that momentum into Switch 2, I still think it'll be better than, PS5 and Xbox Series X. Because at this point, I feel like Nintendo are so far ahead of Sony and Microsoft when it comes to just software that I really don't care about, like, the best hardware. So long as the games are fun and they run well enough, that's good enough for me. They basically beat out Sony and Microsoft last time for me. I think the Switch was a far better value proposition than the PS4 and Xbox One. I know a lot of people would disagree with me on that because they like the PS4. I really didn't care for the PS4 or the Xbox One. So yeah, Nintendo to me have been king in the console market. as long as they can keep putting out great games like they have been, then I think, Switch 2 will be special as well. The things that I'm hoping for at launch, I really want Metroid Prime 4 to be a launch title. Probably a Mario game. It'll probably be Mario Kart 9. I would love to see maybe a smaller 2D Mario game or something as well. And then one game that I would really love to see near the beginning of the Switch 2 launch library is another Animal Crossing. Because as popular as New Horizons was, I really didn't like it as much as New Leaf. So even just porting some of the older Animal Crossing games over would be nice. But yeah, I think the Switch 2 launch lineup is going to be a little bit, thin overall, much like the Switch was. When the Switch first came out, you literally had 1-2 Switch, Breath of the Wild, and I can't even remember what else. It was like really small. Took a little bit for the Switch to get going, but once it got going, it really got going. I hope the Switch 2 has a little bit better launch than the Switch 1, but I think it'll be about the same. You'll probably have 1 or 2 games that are, you're going to buy it, and then you'll go about 3 or 4 months with not much else until the next big release. But yeah, that's about how I see the Switch going as far as game releases go. One thing that people have been pointing out is the Joy-Cons might have a sensor that acts as a mouse, and that's really cool, I guess. Having a mouse would be nice for like shooters and stuff. If they could do like a controller attachment where you dock it into like a mouse grip or something, and then you can use it as a mouse, that would be cool. Maybe put some RTS games on the Switch too. But yeah, overall, I'm pretty excited for the Switch 2, mainly to see what games come out. Again, hardware-wise, it's not going to be anything spectacular. It's the software where they're really going to do something special. And another thing that I'm kind of, like, surprised by is the Joy-Con grips, or not the Joy-Con grips, the Joy-Con connectors are actually on the outside. So the trick of, bridging whatever pins you needed to bypass the Switch security or whatever to inject or the payloads into the Switch, which I did that not too long ago. I actually hacked my Switch for the first time. Don't get me Nintendo Ninjas, please. But it's a little bit weird that they're actually on the outside of the console. That means that the way to bypass it now is going to be something more internal, probably, instead of the controller connectors. That'll be interesting to see how, modders eventually break into the Switch software, but yeah, that's about it on Nintendo Switch 2. The reveal trailer I wish was a little bit longer. I wish they would have shown off more games, but I imagine that's going to be for the Direct on April 2nd. And I hope they come out swinging. I would love to see, Metroid, Mario, and hopefully, I didn't mention this before, but hopefully a new Pokemon. And for the love of God, Nintendo, please sit down with Game Freak and say, you can't release a game that looks like barely a PS2 game and runs at 5 frames per second. Like, Scarlet and Violet were so pathetic when it came to that. I want an actual polished Pokemon game for once, please. So, yeah, that's about it. If you liked the video, like the video. Dislike the video. If you dislike the video, comment down below what you want on Switch 2. Do you think it's going to be a great console? Are you even excited for the Switch? How do you think it's going to stack up against the PS5 and Xbox One, or Xbox Series X, I mean? And yeah, that's about it. Subscribe to the channel if you want more content like this, and I'll see you guys in the next video.